Welcome to Hysteria's Get In Losers, We're Running for Office tour. This week we're hitting the road for part one of our summer road trip. We'll be making stops along the way to meet some of our favorite female 2024 candidates. They're working tirelessly across the country trying to unfuck their states and make the U.S. better. So buckle up and get ready to vote and donate. We'll need these ladies in the driver's seat. We're kicking off our summer trip in the great state of Michigan, birthplace of my queen Selma Blair and Bing Cherries. Our first candidate is Representative Mai Xiong, the first Hmong American elected to the Michigan legislature. She's running for re-election in House District 13. She won the seat in a special election this past April, but new voting maps just took effect, so she has to campaign again. And the race is slightly more competitive than before. Mai, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, Mai, how did someone who went to the College for Creative Studies to pursue their love of art end up in public service?
That's a great question. I never thought I would ever run for office, but I found myself living in Warren in Macomb County for over 17 years as a small business owner and a mom to 4 young children. I just looked around me in 2020 and didn't see anyone in office who looked like me and really wanted my children to look up at our leaders and see someone who looked like them. So that was when I realized that I had to run for a local office, and I ran for the county commission, got reelected in 2022. And then last year was asked to run for the state house.
That is amazing. Now, you just mentioned you're a mother of 4. A photo of your daughter at the Biden-Harris rally in Detroit caught traction on social media last week. It was adorable. We should all have her energy. What's it like balancing your family life and this campaign?
Thank you. Yes, we did attend the Biden event in Detroit last Friday, and we were behind the bleachers, and my daughter was holding up a sign, and someone snapped a photo of her and put it on X, and now I think it's garnered over 700,000 views.
It's 900. It's 900,000 now. Okay. I checked right before we got on.
It just keeps going up. But yeah, she is a bundle of joy. She has so much energy. I mean, they all do. And I take them everywhere I go. Ever since I started campaigning in 2020, she was about 18 months at that time. And she's just seen me campaigning every year. And so she understands that the political process and that there are elections and how important it is to participate. And I'm just really grateful to be in a position to be able to teach them, because my parents, as you may know, didn't speak a word of English and came here as immigrants. And so I was never taught the importance of participating. And so now as a mother, I want to make sure that I include them in that process. And so even when I go door knocking, or if I am in Lansing at the state capitol in meetings, usually they are with me, because childcare is such a big issue, affording childcare. And even as a legislator, and, you know, as a former small business owner, like, I've had to deal with that. And so they're always trailing behind me in any place or space that I occupy. They're with me.
So when you're out campaigning, and you're talking to voters and constituents, what is on people's minds? What are people most concerned about?
A lot of people are really concerned about the cost of living, which has gone up, and wages are not following with that. Families are also concerned about safety, in particular safety around gun violence that we've seen so prevalent. And so I hear that time and time again. But those are, I would say, the 2 top things is, addressing the rising costs and also protecting our families and our kids. And as my children are in school, I think about that every day as I get them ready to go to school, how I can keep them safe.
I see a small person joining the conversation. I love it. Mai, why is it so important that you are reelected to your seat? What are the stakes?
The stakes are really high. And Alyssa, you mentioned earlier in the introduction about how my district has really changed. And it's not just slightly a change. 50% of my district was redrawn. I currently represent I would say, a very blue, safe Democratic seat. Now I'm running in a marginal seat, and that Republicans are trying to flip this seat because the numbers are so close. We have done so much to bring back the Democratic House majority and to maintain being the trifecta here in Michigan. And Democrats have done a wonderful job passing meaningful legislation around protecting women's reproductive rights, and also, repealing a lot of the things that have happened during the previous administration around unions and making sure that we are protecting our workers. We have here in the Southeast Michigan a very strong union base, a lot of blue collar workers and families who live on fixed incomes and are really just trying to get by every day. And so I think it's really important for us to maintain this Democratic majority because we pass so much meaningful legislation. But for me personally, and for my children, and I think for so many families, like representation is just so important because we've worked so hard to build this progress. It would just be very detrimental for someone to come and to undo all of the things that we have done, that we've worked so hard for.
Mai, we're so excited that you were able to join us today. We will be following your race. Stay in touch and keep Michigan blue. Pack your bags. We're leaving the Detroit area and driving about 600 miles southeast of Pennsylvania, the state that collectively forced us all to take a Xanax on election night 2020. We're meeting Anna Payne, who is running to flip House District 142 in Bucks County. The Pennsylvania State House has a very slim blue majority, holding on by a single seat. A win for Anna would add crucial Democratic strength in the House. Anna, how's it going?
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here with you today. I think things are going wonderful. We are working really hard this year to make sure we flip this seat from red to blue. As you said, we have a super slim majority in the PA House in Pennsylvania. We have a one seat majority that we not only need to hold on to, but we need to expand, right? So we can get more stuff done. So I'm so grateful to be one of the candidates running and out there knocking doors and talking to voters.
So Anna, you're currently town supervisor, and as such, you have been recognized for a climate action plan, upgraded playgrounds, and increased access to support services. What do you hope to focus on as a state representative?
So I think that there needs to be more of a cohesive relationship between state and local government, right? Because we need to be able to work together, especially when it comes to issues about community safety, and making sure that we get more grant funding, because there's a lot of things local municipalities want to be able to do, but they don't have the funding sources for it. And some of the municipalities are even so small, they don't have the capability to even be searching for grants, right? So I think that's like a key component of something that I would like to see addressed. What can we do to kind of empower those local governments to be able to do more for their local constituents and make sure it's a partnership working with the state? So we know exactly what kind of things our district needs assistance with, and we can hopefully help provide that or connect them to the right people in order to make sure we get that done for them.
You know, it's funny. I started out in politics as an intern for Bernie Sanders in 1995. And that is exactly one of the jobs that he focused on as a congressperson, was working with state level folks to make sure that people were getting all the resources they need. So that is very near and dear to my heart. You have faced several health challenges. You were diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at birth. You weren't expected to live past your teens. Just a few years ago, you were diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Here you are, out there fucking killing it. How are you doing today? And how does being so involved in the healthcare system motivate you to help others?
Sure. I mean, every day is a gift, right? And I have had the privilege to have that perspective my whole life. And I think that's actually what drives me to want to be an elected official and serve in a capacity, because I have seen what it looks like and experienced what happens when people don't have access to quality healthcare, right? And it is scary. It's unacceptable, and people's lives, people suffer. And we don't need to continue to have that kind of healthcare system. We need to make sure that we're taking care of each other, right? That's like the basics of it for me. It's like, how are we taking care of people when they fall upon their darkest times, right? And I think that my experience has only, getting diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, like reaffirmed that, right? especially as a young person with stage 4 colon cancer. The incidence and prevalence of that is on the rise.
Yes.
And we need to take action, and we need people who can speak to why it's so important that young people get screened, that we start having conversations with our doctors, and that we be fierce advocates, not just for, ourselves, but our family members, to make sure they're getting the kind of care they need so they don't end up, unfortunately, like me, with a stage 4 diagnosis at age 34. That's kind of one of my passions, right, is healthcare. And it's because I've had to live in the system to literally survive.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned going door to door, when you're going door to door and knocking and talking to constituents, what are you hearing? What are their biggest concerns right now?
The concerns seem to be the same thing for most people. Women's rights, women's healthcare, obviously is a top issue. The economy, to some extent, of more so like kitchen table issues. Like, people are concerned, how are their kids going to be able to afford homes if the housing prices keep going up? Things of that nature. Community safety is important. People always want to make sure, the police are being funded at an adequate level. And that is something that I have done as a supervisor. Since I've been on every year, we've increased the funding by like almost $1 million each year. And we've made historic investments here in our fire and emergency services, because we know that times are changing, and we want to make sure that those robust services that you rely on in your time of need are there for you. So those seem to be the top concerns. But one of the biggest common statements I hear is actually that people don't feel like they know what their state representative does, and that government is really working for them, right? So they feel a little disconnected about that. And how can we, as elected officials, local, state, federal, make sure that people actually see results, right, from the tax dollars they're paying? And that seems to be the overwhelming survey question that I've gotten. They're obviously, the environment and things like that and are important, but I think people don't necessarily see the work that is being done. And if they don't feel that in their pockets, whether, we have a rent rebate program now here in Pennsylvania, which is wonderful. Wow. So people can qualify for that. But if they don't know that they can apply, then they don't even know that that's available, right?
Totally.
So, some of that comes down to communicating and marketing, and how can we work together to make sure people are getting the information.
Anna, thank you so much for coming on Hysteria. Good luck. Bucks County will be lucky to have you. Stay in touch. Let us know how you're doing. The next leg of the trip is easy, only about 13 miles to Northwest New Jersey, one of my favorite states, home to my guy, Bruce, the boss. We're visiting Sue Altman, a basketball player turned teacher running to flip New Jersey's 7th Congressional District. Her opponent made the district red last cycle, and we want to reverse that again. Sue, how's it going?
Hey, how are you? I'm glad to be here. This is a super winnable district. It's in the New York City suburbs. We're like a couple stops away. It's very winnable, and I'm psyched to be on this podcast.
Sue, you're a former, very successful basketball player and teacher. What made you want to get into public service beyond being a teacher?
So I had this moment with Chris Christie, and people in New Jersey know, even though nationally he's having this never Trump moment, that he was such a bully. He was like the precursor to Trump, and he was our governor in New Jersey for I don't even know how long, like 3,000 years. And the teachers in the state were being treated so badly. And so I had this interaction with Chris Christie when he used to do town halls, which is something my opponent, Tom Kane Jr., never does. This is a throwback to when we still had town halls in New Jersey. And I got into a toe-to-toe with Chris Christie, which culminated him throwing a microphone at me. But he didn't know that I was a former professional basketball player. So I caught the microphone, corrected him because he lied, and then tossed it back to him. And then he came over to me afterwards and said, "Van, you're going to be a pain in the butt." And truer words have never been spoken, because I've been nothing but a pain in the butt in Jersey politics ever since. And now I'm running to take back the House.
Okay, so Sue, what are the stakes of this race?
Oh my God. I think certainly in the last couple of weeks, we're all aware of the stakes of this race. Like, if Trump wins the presidency, the House could be the final insurance policy, the final firewall to the Trump trifecta. And so we need to take back the House. I tell my staff, I tell my folks here in the 7th District, we can cry a river about what we feel should and shouldn't be happening at the presidential level, and that's fine. but dry your tears because we got doors to knock, we got money to raise, we have events to host here in this district, and we have the privilege of living in the district at this moment where the stakes are super high. We can get up in the morning every day and we can make a decision to make a difference. And that's what we're doing here.
Sue, let our listeners know, what are your top issues?
So obviously reproductive freedom and choice and women's rights. And those are all looped up into one thing. As a former athlete, as a millennial woman, like, it is inconceivable to me that the high watermark of women's rights in my lifetime was like when I was in high school. Are we kidding me? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So that's obviously something that we're really hammering home. And we have a lot of independent voters in this district, a lot of Republican women who come out of like the old school tradition of like Christine Todd Whitman. She was a governor from Hunterdon County, which is where I'm from, back in the day. And she was pro-choice and she was pro-environment. So those two issues right there are real familiar topics. And then you got the economy. Like, people are really sick and tired of things being so expensive, of people sort of minimizing the struggles that they're having. And if you can speak to that issue in this district, along with the other ones, and of course, democracy and the needing to uphold the rule of law when it comes to elections, I think that's a message that's going to resonate. I know it resonates.
Sue, thank you so much for joining us today. Good luck. And
oh my
stay
God,
in touch.
Thanks for doing the work you're doing. We'll talk soon.
Buckle up and grab your boots, kids. Now we're journeying over 1,000 miles southwest to the progressive promised land of Texas. The state's long-held Republican stronghold has shown signs of waning, and Democrats are ready to take it over. This includes our next guest, Avery Bishop, who's looking to flip District 112. Avery, how is it going?
Hi, it is going. Talk about yeehaw giddy up here in Texas. The race is in peak season right now, and we are on track to flipping this seat come November.
First, let me say your slogan, Avery for All, is my favorite.
Oh, thanks.
I love it so much. You were the first Asian American Miss Texas. How did you go from pageants to politics?
The pipeline is strong from pageants to politics. Actually, when I was Miss Texas, I had a social platform called Y'all Means All. And during my year, I traveled more than 70,000 miles across Texas teaching about the importance of respecting different cultures, because Texas is a minority majority state. I was in hundreds of public schools, saw the suffering of teachers and students in Title I schools, and I knew that I had to run for office when Governor Abbott passed SB 17, which eliminated DE&I programs in colleges.
So you were the recipient of the Giffords Champion Award for gun safety. How did you achieve such an honor? What has made you a gun safety advocate?
I grew up in the generation that traded fire drills for active shooter drills. And I also have taught in public schools last year in the district that I'm running for now. And I personally know that students and teachers fear for their lives, especially here in Texas, and especially in the climate that we just saw happen at a national level. For me, during my year as Miss Texas, actually, ironically, not what is expected of a current title holder, I actively talked about gun safety, especially when the school shooting for Uvalde occurred. So many children were innocently shot. There was not a great response or a rapid response to control the environment of when it happened. So I took up my advocacy, my social media platform with millions of followers, and decided to raise funds for the school down in the South and also advocate for safer gun regulation in Texas.
It's pretty incredible. What are the stakes of this race? Why do you need to win?
The stakes are so high, Alyssa. I feel like that is the immediate answer. But here's the reason. Texas has continued to have lawmakers who are from the wealthy inside. There are no young people. There are no people of color who are ready to fight and represent the people that they come from, the communities that they come from. I am also the best choice for District 112. The demographics are quickly changing, and we need representatives, especially in Texas, who are energetic, hardworking, and have time on their side. I have so much to lose. I'm working full time, which is not what a typical traditional candidate does. I need to pay for medical insurance. I need to pay for my student debt. I need to afford my rent. These are real struggles that people experience in Texas, and the representatives in our state capital do not reflect these people. And so that is why I'm running. That is why the stakes are so high, is because the next session, when I'm elected, we have to ensure that we protect public school education and also women's reproductive health care. I'm a woman, I'm young, I want to have kids, but not in Texas until I clean up the mess that's been made.
Not in Texas. SB 8, what a disaster. Avery, when you are out talking to constituents and voters, what are they saying? What's on their minds? What are they most concerned about?
You know, we've knocked thousands of doors already thanks to an incredible team and a fellowship program with hundreds of young kids already volunteering here on the ground. I have knocked and spoken to many progressives and even some lean conservatives. Oh no, kind of scary. But it's been a blast. Everyone from red to blue to purple to pink to green, whatever color you identify as, they are talking about public school education. Governor Abbott wants to attack public school funding and make sure that we privatize these schools and make it harder for students and teachers to have quality education. I'm a proud product of public school education.
Me too.
Reproductive health care is on the tips of everyone's mouths, including men. Go men who are opening the doors and talking about reproductive health care. And third, as you know, lots of storms here in Texas. People are without power in Houston. I was without power for a week in Dallas. The power grid and energy are also top of mind.
Avery, you're an inspiration. Thank you so much for making the time to come on Hysteria today. Please stay in touch so we know how you're doing.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll keep you an update, and hopefully we bag this win in November.
Avery for all. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get into our Sani Petty. Essie, are you feeling Sani or petty?
Petty, but it's always petty.
What you got?
I do want to talk, and I can't believe these words are escaping my lips.
Okay.
I do want to talk about Bennifer. Even though I said a year ago when they got married again or whatever, I cannot talk about them anymore because I already gave them like all my attention 10 years ago. All of it. They got it all. I can't do it again. But now I just, can it be over already? Can we stop with the like, who's wearing the ring? Is he in a good mood? Is he smoking? Is he in a bad mood? Where is she? He moved his stuff out, but now she's out with his child. Like,
yeah,
on camera, walking around with Violet Affleck in the Hamptons. Can we put an end to this madness? Please.
What do you think did them in? Was it the Dunkin' Bonanza of commercials?
No. Listen, I don't know her personally, and I don't know Ben Affleck well. But like Ilaria, I am from Boston. And I grew up with guys like Ben Affleck. I know guys like Ben Affleck, right? I know every Sully in the greater Boston area, all right? And my accent's going to come out now that we're talking about it.
Let's do it.
All right? So there is no way that this man wants to be a part of this woman's stage show, right? And this is not a complete criticism of her. It's just the way she chooses to live is for the cameras. And obviously, like, made a movie about her romance and her life. And it's all about giving herself to the audiences. And that is not for him. That's not for my friend, Ben Sully, okay? He wants to live a quiet life where he can smoke and no one cares, where he can go out and get Dunkin' and no one's taking pictures of him. I knew from the beginning that they were not going to work. And the fact that you see him annoyed every time they're out together, I mean, that's just my guy. That's my guy, Ben. So I'm not surprised.
Honestly, the year that they were nominated for Best Screenplay, I think was 1997 for Good Will Hunting. Yeah. I was in college. I watched it and I was like, I want to be them. I want them to be my best friends. Yes. I was like when they gave their speech and I was just like texting. Well, we weren't texting back then. I was calling on a hard line, my best friend, Kara. And I'm like, are you watching this? You know, I mean, it was like, to me, I am always rooting for them.
Me too.
Like the two of them, especially their friendship, I'm rooting for them. I thought the Dunkin' commercials were so funny. Awesome. And I feel like he just needs like a nice lady from Boston who has a farm stand.
I don't know about the farm stand part. I think that's
Maybe.
A little of you projecting.
I'm projecting.
Does she
I mean,
also
I love
make
my
jam?
husband. I love my husband, but I'm just saying.
I think you're right. He needs a nice girl from Boston.
Yeah.
I'm not available, sadly. I'm taken. But I know many nice girls from Boston. I was once a nice girl from Boston. He needs a nice regular girl. Okay? A regular girl. That's what he needs. Who's going to go
and get Dunkin'?
Who's going to go get Dunkin' with me? He needs a regular girl. And J-Lo is anything but regular. She can pretend to be regular. She can pretend she's got her like bodega order. She's not regular.
She's not regular. I don't think he wants to have to be fit and like get spray tan.
He does not.
He's meant to be
He does
pale.
not.
He's meant to be pale.
He's meant to be pale. He's meant to have a bit of a paunch. He's meant to have sunken eyes from smoking too much. This is who he is. Let him live.
Let him live.
Yeah.
Okay, Essie, I have to be honest. Mine's a little combination of Sani and Petty. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So since we're spending this week watching the Republican convention, I've had a lot of time to pay attention to the Republican convention, and I am obsessed with the character that nobody is talking about.
Amber Rose?
No. Six Wire, the cover band. Okay? I was like, wait a minute, because I had the convention on in the background. I was in the kitchen making jam, as one does.
Right.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Is that Caught Up in You by 38 Special? One of my favorite songs. Favorite from the movie. Well, one, I always loved it, but my favorite is, do you remember the movie Whip It? The roller derby movie.
Okay.
And Elliot Page was practicing to be part of the roller derby, and Caught Up in You was playing. And ever since then, when the song comes on, I picture myself in the roller derby. And so you know, I was so into the idea of roller derby that when I was in DC, I had signed up. My roller derby name was going to be Nasty Pelosi. And everyone in the White House was like, you cannot do any of this. You can't come to work with black eyes. You can't call yourself Nasty Pelosi. I thought it was the greatest thing. But anyway, so I hear 38 Special. I am taken back in time. I'm like, this is amazing. And then I'm like, wait, Learn to Fly? Are the Foo Fighters there? I know the Foo Fighters would not give the Republican convention. And then I did a little digging. And it's a cover band, and they are killing it. And they are doing the interlude music, the interstitials, all of it. And honestly, these people are thriving. They have been covered by the Tennessean, which is where they are from. And I can't know enough. I can't learn enough. I'm checking their set lists every night. And I just, on the one hand, I'm petty because I'm like, haha, you can't get music because y'all are crazy. On the other hand, I'm kind of like, let these guys live their best lives. This is amazing music.
And are they free for my next party? Right?
I mean, honestly, they've got the Doobie Brothers. They're doing Robert Palmer. And I also feel like you and I like similar music. Yeah. So they've got Steely Dan. They've got the Allman Brothers. Ooh. I mean, they're doing dad rock in the best way possible.
That's my jam. Dad rock. 100%.
Dad rock. And so I was just like, thank God for these guys, because literally when everyone, and I noticed it, I don't know, because I saw you on CNN. I think you were on in the morning. And at night, they were actually trying to guess the tune going into each, like when the band would start playing, they'd be
really?
Like,
yeah.
Oh, it's this. And then they're like, oh, no, it's that. And I'm like, no, these people are just giving people life right now. And part of me, at first I thought it was a little funny. Now I'm like, I don't know. The DNC should consider something similar to this because it's groovy.
Except they'll probably get like actual Bono and actual Foo Fighters.
Well, yeah. Though, I mean, that kind of makes it less funny.
Yes, right. It's not as fun. My here's another wedding story. I don't know why everything is relating to my wedding from 10 years ago, but when we were getting married up in Connecticut, and as WASPs do, and I'm not religious, so we wanted a justice of the peace. So we went out to interview justices of the peace. And we go to this one guy's house, and he says, I know you're on CNN, and I just want to tell you there are a lot of us up here. And I said, us who? And he says, celebrities. And I said, tell me more. And he said, well, I don't know if you've seen my work, but in addition to being a justice of the peace, I am also the world's foremost Warren G. Harding impersonator. And I have been on History Channel and all these other places as Warren G. Harding. And he said, so it's like me, you, and Kevin Bacon live up here. I go, stop. Delusional, but way
Charming.
more fun than like a normal justice of the peace, who is just a justice of the peace.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I love that he led with it. We didn't go with him for obvious reasons, but
because he would have like shown up in character.
Yes, and I don't need a reenactment at my wedding. Or do I? Maybe I did.
Maybe you did.
Maybe I did. I'll never know. But this is my way of saying cover bands sometimes more fun than legit bands, than the real bands.
I mean, I'm just telling you, they did one thing right this week. They did one thing right. Essie, thank you. Thank you for joining me today.